This is a selected portion for your listening pleasure from T.G. Ballard's gripping novel, The Devil's Due. Walking through the library towards the librarian's desk, Carlo became acutely aware that the library was eerily silent. It was never loud, but there was always hushed tones and soft whispers. "Wow, where did everyone go?" Carlo inquired. The librarian didn't say a word. She just silently stared at Carlo with an unsettling look on her face. "Are you okay?" asked Carlo. Still, she didn't respond. She simply continued to stare at Carlo with the same unsettling look. Carlo began to back away from the desk. As he moved further away from her, she began rising out of her seat. Slowly, she walked around the old, worn-out wooden desk, making her way towards Carlo. Seeing her beginning to advance towards him, he was terrified. Desperation pushed him to consider his options. He could make a run for the exit, but with her blocking the way, that might not end well. He quickly scanned the room for something, anything, that could help him. Then his eyes fell upon a nearby bookshelf filled with heavy hardcover volumes. Carlo grabbed one of the thick books and held it in front of him, ready to use it as a makeshift shield if necessary. The librarian continued her slow advance, her scowl now deepening into a sinister expression. Carlo took a deep breath, trying to steady his trembling hands. Summoning all the courage he could muster, Carlo spoke firmly. "I don't know what's going on here, but I just want to leave. Please, let me go." The librarian's unsettling silence persisted, but she halted her approach momentarily. Carlo seized the opportunity to sidestep around her and make a dash for the exit. As he reached the door, he glanced back to see the librarian slowly returning to her seat, her gaze still fixed on him, with his heart still pounding. Carlo exited the library, leaving behind the mysterious librarian and the unanswered questions that now seemed even more elusive. He couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was somehow connected to the tangled web of secrets and mysteries he had stumbled upon earlier. Outside, the town of Westwood Falls was cloaked in darkness, save for the eerie glow of the moon. Carlo shivered as he ventured into the dimly lit alleyway that led to the main road, the cobblestones beneath his feet cold and unforgiving. He couldn't escape the feeling of being watched, the hairs on his neck prickling with dread. Carlo's heart raced, a crescendo of terror building within him as he quickened his pace, desperate to escape the library's oppressive grasp. Yet, no matter how fast he moved, he could not shake the sinister sensation that something malevolent was lurking in the darkness behind him. Casting a nervous glance over his shoulder, he glimpsed a shadowy figure perched atop a lamppost, an owl with eyes as black as the abyss. Its feathers absorbed the moonlight, rendering it invisible against the night sky. Carlo's heart pounded in his chest as he realized the truth. He was being relentlessly pursued. The night air grew colder, and the once familiar streets of Westwood Falls now felt like a labyrinth of despair. The owl, with eyes that seemed to reflect the void itself, swooped low, its wings brushing the back of Carlo's neck. It emitted a series of haunting hoots that echoed through his very soul. Carlo knew he had to find help, but the library was an abyss he dared not re-enter. Pressing forward, he made his way toward the town square, where the faint glow of lamplights promised a sliver of safety. As he approached the square, the owl's sinister hoots grew louder and more deranged. Carlo stumbled forward, feeling the creature's menacing presence closing in with each agonizing step. Desperation clawed at him, and he darted into a narrow alley, hoping to evade his relentless pursuer, but the owl was unyielding, descending upon him with talons poised to strike. Narrowly missing Carlo's face, it was as if the very darkness of the night had taken on a bodily form, intent on devouring his very soul. Carlo's breaths came in ragged gasps, his mind racing for a way to escape this horrifying chase. He knew he couldn't outrun the owl, nor could he reason with the malevolent entity. His only hope was to find sanctuary within the church, a place where even the darkest entities dared not tread. Summoning the last shreds of his courage, Carlo sprinted toward the towering spires of St. Mary's Cathedral, its ancient stone walls a flickering beacon of salvation. The owl pursued him relentlessly, its hoots now a maddening racket of torment. Just as Carlo reached the cathedral steps, he threw open the colossal wooden doors and rushed inside. The owl, barred from crossing the sacred threshold, circled angrily outside, its eyes aflame with hatred. Carlo knelt before the altar, his trembling hands clasped in fervent prayer for protection and deliverance. The air within the church grew heavy with an otherworldly presence, a force of light pushing back against the encroaching darkness. Hours seemed to stretch into eternity as Carlo remained huddled in the sanctuary, the owl's haunting hoots gradually fading into distant echoes. At last, the first faint rays of dawn crept through the stained glass windows, bathing the church in a warm, reassuring glow. With unsteady legs, Carlo made his way to the doors. The night's harrowing ordeal had come to an end, but the memory of that nightmarish pursuit would forever haunt his dreams. Nemo, the dark entity in the form of an owl, had been temporarily banished by the sanctuary of the church. As he stepped into the morning light, Carlo knew that the line between light and shadow was thinner than he had ever imagined, and the horrors of the night could return at any moment to claim him once more. Once he reached the familiar comfort of his own home, he decided to delve deeper into his investigation. The end of the selected portion of T.G. Ballard's novel, The Devil's Due. Follow T.G. Ballard on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at T.G. Ballard Books, or contact us at tgballardbooks@gmail.com.